So this video is just about talking about how I think through things, especially this one where I started it because I was having a bad, stressful week, and sometimes that keeps people away from their art. And I just choose to pick up my iPad and do something anyway because I can sit and I can fiddle with all of the shading and the painting, and it kind of gives me a place to escape to. And so I started this one without any real plan. I didn't know what colorway I wanted to do, but I do work in color better. I like to have everything start with a color, the background a color, so that I at least have color to work with, and then I work on each individual item as I go along, creating the tree or the house or the windows as I go, and editing colors on whatever I think looks good with that building or that object. And then I worry about how I'm going to put it all together at the end, because I know that I can change the color of anything that I want in the end. I do have a video on that on my YouTube channel about how to change your colors at the end. And I also know that because I work in layers and clipping masks, that nothing is locked in stone until I decide to merge my layers together. So it gives me the option to change things as a whole. Like, for instance, I keep all my window frames and my window glass part like all on separate layers so that I can change the whole layer, or I can select bits and pieces of it. And so this, I kind of like the yellow roofs, and I think I'm going with a bright pinky orangey tone, and I'm not so sure this is what I'm going to wind up with in the end, excuse me. But for the most part, I'm just playing, experimenting, trying different things, changing colors, adding shadows. All my houses are on separate layers. The elements of my houses, the roofs are all on one layer, and the windows and the frames and the doorways and the door frames and the branches to the trees or the flowers, all of those things have their own layers and groups. And it makes it much easier for me to edit things, because I have been known to change my mind as I'm going along because one thing came out a really cool color and I just wanted to run with that. I do like the daisy that I'm starting to paint there on the right-hand side, but I wasn't crazy about it belonging in this piece with the other things. It just didn't seem to have the same goofy, wonky kind of look that I was going for. So I pulled that aside after I finished it and save it for another thing. I like this. I usually start with bright colors, but they're not always the colors I end up with. I just felt that something about this was not entirely coming together with the mood and the atmosphere that I was looking for. So I didn't worry about that. I kind of just kept creating, kept shading, kept making sure that all my values, my darks and my lights and my mediums were in the right place as I worked on all the components. Because again, I can change them at the end. And so I want to make sure that I have a glow in my windows. You can see me working on that, and then changing the color to this light bluish purple color, working on the tree with all the wonky circles, changing the color of the roofs, seeing if anything speaks to me and says, hey, go this way. And then I got to the end and I decided that I wanted to play with it as a whole and use layers and blending modes to see how many different colorways I could turn this into and which one that I like best. Working on the background, sometimes I like it darker, sometimes I like it lighter. I love this brownish one here. I just think the rich golds and rusts in there really work. I put small textures on the rooftops and the buildings. They're mild, they're not very strong textures, but they are there, which when you add texture, however light, to an object, you sort of give it a little bit more, and it looks less like a cartoon illustration than it does when it doesn't have texture. And so I like adding, one has bricks, one has stone, one has cracks, another one has a little wood style. And then I went into seeing how I can edit this and what I can do to change the different looks of it. I wound up with several different looks that I really like, and I enjoy doing that. It gives me an idea of how I want to go forward.